stories have shaped up, changed the landscape, and have made up good debates throughout the week. Let's start off with Monday, Tuesday, what happened on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. They all come into perspective when we review them together right here on the show. As always, the tradition is all the stories I share with you are stories I can verify and are stories sourced from our news desk here in the station. So stay close, stay tuned. I'm about to bring you some of the biggest stories that really do matter all the way through. So what has happened this week? There was the moment where President Muhammadu Buhari did travel to ECOWAS to attend to an ECOWAS meeting, discussions with regards to how the region will be more sustainable while serving in itself, and of course go through these tough times in the most fascinating way it can. The Nigerian police force also did arrest 2 suspects of the fraud in a German company in Nigeria this same week, not missing out on the fact that the defense headquarters says more than ever before they are keen on making sure the FCT is safeguarded against any sort of trouble or terrorists, as one would sometimes refer to them. In the arena of politics, the All Progressive Congress has conducted a parallel primary congress in Imo North, picking out candidates that will best serve for their choice. The days are getting closer in Edo State as the gubernatorial elections kicks off. More is being said, but the atmosphere seems to be a little bit more calm, and while the troubled time seems to be behind them. In Oyo State, there's been students, workers, and civil society groups. They've taken to the streets as with regards to the price of fuel and hike in electricity. A similar gesture was experienced in Rivers State, Lagos State, and some other areas of the country. Let's talk about all these news stories as we start off the show this morning. Welcome to the show. This is The Brief with Femi Live.
News, live news. Trust me, I can prove it. Ready? Let's take on the biggest debates on radio, provide insights, experience, and build an unforgettable discussion together. I'm Femi D. Amelia.
All right, welcome back to the show. Let's start off with Monday now. Some of the stories from Monday. It was interesting to follow through with this story on Monday, just over the weekend into Monday, Sunday evening. President Muhammadu Buhari did leave Abuja for the Share Republic to participate in the 57th ordinary session of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government. It did take place. The one-day summit, according to the presidential spokesman, Garba Shehu, disclosed that it was part of the deliberate efforts on the special report on COVID-19 to be presented by President Muhammadu Buhari. The Nigerian leader was appointed the ECOWAS champion on fight against COVID-19 in this very, very troubled season, more than ever before. Also, there were talks, I understand, with regards to suspending the ECOWAS currency, which was supposed to take center stage at about this time. But single currency program, which was much of the conversation in ECOWAS as well. The talk about it was presented by President Julius Maduro Biel of Sierra Leone. He talked about that, and that was interesting to also know. So that was a little bit of what happened last weekend. They're coming into this week, and lots of the responses that followed through in that regard. Let me also brief you. The Nigerian police force did arrest 2 suspects of defrauding a German company of 14.17 million euros. According to a statement by the police spokesperson Frank Umba, he said the suspects, Babatunde Adesoye and Akipelu Abbas, are members of a sophisticated transnational criminal network. That was part of the conversation this week, and they did put them forward, and they made an attempt to clone the corporate website of a company based in Holland. Still with the police now, the commander in the FCT, that's the Federal Capital Territory here in Abuja, says it has deployed proactive intelligence gathering mechanism and crime-fighting measures to beef up security in the territory. Many of you would remember that this week, in fact, much of last week into this week, there was a conversation about if terrorists were in the terrain of the FCT, the Federal Capital Territory. And yes, some people did call me on the show to tell me that some headsmen, armed headsmen, they take over much of the affairs of some territories, in fact, kidnapped some people. But responding to that, the police public relations officer, Anjuguri Manza, disclosed in a statement in Abuja on Sunday, saying, well, the command remains committed to protecting lives and property in the state. Meanwhile, still with security now, the defense headquarters has assured residents of the FCT and adjoining states now that the military and other security agencies were on red alert to ensure the safety of people living within the FCT here in Abuja. They say they're ready to checkmate against all that may happen or seem to be happening with regards to that. So that becomes some of their, well, commitment more than ever before. It said it is imperative to sequel to a purported memorandum from the Nigerian Customs Service warning its staff on a possible attack on the FCT. Well, they said the military had recently raided identified camps of the Rulu Salam and Boko Haram terrorist group in parts of Kogi and Nasarawa State. It said they neutralized scores of the terrorists and rescued over 700 of the family members and abductees in the raid, following verified intelligence reports on the location as well. Now, moving past that, let's also venture into this. The All Progressive Congress, which is a political party here in Nigeria, the ruling political party, has conducted a parallel primary congress in Imo North Senatorial District ahead of next month's by-election in the district. The seven-man panel led by Senator Ajibola Bashiru, mandated by the interim national leadership of the APC to conduct a primary, broke into factions, produced two candidates now. That would be Senator Ifeanyi Ararume and Honorable Frank Ibezin. Ajibola's faction, backed by the secretary of the panel, Samuel Buku, and two other members submitted the name of Honorable Ibezin as the winner of the primary conducted. But then, well, down the line, it only produced even a more messy situation. Senator Basiru alleged that three members of his team, whose name he did not disclose, absconded from their hotel rooms because they felt there was threats to their lives. Let's take a listen to how he narrates the ordeal in that very primary election on who best will serve as the Imo North Senatorial District representative. Take a listen for yourself.
I have pictures on my phone. I want to send to you. This same set of people that are claiming that the difference or is put together with the Commissioner of Police of Imo State. So I thought that at the stakeholder meeting that was held on Wednesday, they were there. I spoke. My picture is there. So I thought point in time was the parallel from, and I told you, and I said with all honesty that as at me, the committee still meant to review. After we have sent people to the fields, I was to proceed to people to start our monitoring process when they disappeared.
Much drama with regards to that. So we have that going on, but in a separate interview with regards to this same situation, you find well, another faction now. They say they've submitted their report and proclaimed that Senator Ararume, yes, is the winner of that very election. Here we go.
Actually, so we came to the room of the chairman where we were supposed to have a meeting. So the chairman is not there. We wanted to have a meeting with the secretary because when I got from the secretary, so the secretary told me, no, he just want to walk around and come back. I called another person. He said, no, another person. He said, no, they just went around and want to come back. I said, okay, fine. Then the chairman called me back and said, he's going to come back in 1 hour time. I said, okay, fine. The secretary says, coming back in 30 minutes. I said, but we came here for the assignment. We came here about why are you people going out? Why are you people going out without telling us? We said, no, he said, the chairman said, he said, want to just want an exercise.
All right, much drama with regards to that going on. Meanwhile, electricity tariff was increased this week in Nigeria, or should I say punch of last week, and the reactions have continued to trail this. From NEC chairman, that's the National Electricity Regulatory Commission chairman, Sam Amadi, gave response with regards to this. Take a listen to an interview granted with regards to electricity tariff increase in Nigeria, which has only produced more drama, reactions, and maybe even upset Nigerians.
Program that is government saying that the business tariff they created to meet discourse, to work the framework for that, how will make it sure. The discourse, when they for the assets, no undertaking of metering of a particular number of meters every year. Have they delivered on that? What will you do now to ensure that they deliver on that commitment and additional commitment? This mass meeting, how long is government thinking that time frame? Because nothing has been put out by regulator to say this is how this will be operationalized. So that tell people when to be done quicker.
All right, that was Dr. Sam Amadi of the former National Electricity Regulatory Commission chairman speaking about the electricity tariff increase in Nigeria, which has only brought in more drama and upset people. Talking about people being upset, earlier this week as well, the health workers threatened to commence a strike action. They had suspended that strike earlier before now, but now they said, well, we're going to commence the strike. They did commence the strike, and addressing journalists with reasons why they would do so was interesting. The doctors, that's the National Association of Resident Doctors, did commence strike. But in one hand, while the doctors are upset about this strike, so also, I would tell you this, September 13, I understand that the Joint Health Sector Unions and Assembly of Healthcare Professionals, simply known as JOHESU, say they will go on strike. And we're speaking about this. The national chairman of JOHESU, Josiah Bibo Belemoye, urged the Minister of State of Labor and Employment, Festus Keyamo, to take over negotiations from the substantiating minister, Senator Chris Ngige, whom he accused of being compromised. So, that was part of the stories that also did make up Monday this very week. Take a listen to how he described that situation and why he thinks there's a better chance of reaching a better negotiation with the junior ministers against the senior minister.
By midnight of September 13th, 2020, JOHESU will commence a nationwide 7 days running strike of our members in all FHIs. The state and local government health institutions are placed on notice for further directives to join the fray. This is authorization by the entire leadership of JOHESU, made up of 5 registered trade unions and the presidents and secretary generals of over 40 professional associations under JOHESU in the health sector of this country.
All right, that drama continues to play on. Now, the president himself, President Muhammadu Buhari, has stated that his administration will not borrow to subsidize electricity tariff, saying that the move will be grossly irresponsible, especially as the deadly COVID-19 persists. Buhari, through the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, also explained that the recent increase in electricity is to ensure improved service delivery for Nigerians. He made a session on Monday at the commencement of a 2-day retreat for members of the Federal Executive Council in Abuja. He added that with over 7.7 trillion naira spent, the federal government does not have the resources to keep subsidizing the power sector. Well, take a listen to the Vice President explain the position of the President.
I'm very unhappy about the quality of service given by the discourse, but there are many constraints, including poor transmission and distribution capacity. Because of the problems with the privatization exercise, government has had to keep supporting the largely privatized electricity industry. We have spent close to 1.7 trillion naira, especially by way of supplementing tariff shortfalls. And it will be grossly irresponsible to borrow to subsidize generation and distribution.
I don't know if that explanation cuts it for you anywhere you're listening to this. The Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, explaining the reason why the price of electricity had to go up, and the functionality of the system. If there's much to it, that's the best way I can say. But then he also did go further to talk about the price of fuel. Let me allow you to listen to him.
Third, we have 60% less revenues. We simply cannot afford the cost. The second danger is the potential return of fuel queues, which has thankfully become a thing of the past, often at highly inflated prices. There is no provision for fuel subsidy in the revised 2020 budget, simply because we are not able to afford such a cost. If reasonable provisions must be made for health, education, and other social services, we simply cannot sustain petroleum subsidies.
So much can be said about that. Cannot be sustained. Petroleum subsidy cannot be sustained. Words re-emphasized by the Vice President. Also, still trying to communicate the position of the government. In a joint briefing, it had the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, alongside with Minister of Power, Mamman Saleh, and also the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Tim Silva, all speaking about the deregulation of the fuel price, and also that this plan is not to impose a more difficult life, more, well, sanctioned life, if I may say, on Nigerians. They say this was announced in March 18, 2020, but they have to hold back up till now. Yeah, here's a little bit of that brief.
This government is not insensitive to the current economic difficulties our people are going through and the very tough economic situation we face as a nation. We certainly will not inflict hardship on our people, but we are convinced that if we stay focused on our plans, brighter and more prosperous days will come soon. The opportunistic opposition and their allies are playing dirty politics with the issue of petroleum pricing and electricity tariff. Please know that these naysayers did not complain when the price adjustment led to lower petrol prices on at least 2 occasions since March.
All right, that's the Minister of Information there explaining why the price of fuel is, and also why political opportunists do not take over and get the best of this situation. All right, but let's move on to another part of the conversation. Still with the price of fuel, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources also made an attempt to justify why the price of fuel has gone up.
Demand for crude oil completely dropped because most countries, all countries in the world, were on lockdown at the same time. I mean, that is very easy for all of us to understand. If every country is on lockdown, then no country was really functioning at the time. So there was no demand for crude oil. All the refineries shut down. The price of crude oil, of course, dropped to zero level.
All right, so that was the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources explaining that situation. Now, with regards to the gubernatorial election coming up in Edo State and Ondo State, the Inspector General of Police has been clear and has really made it clear that things need to be done differently. The IGP of Police, Mohammed Adamu, was speaking to police officers, the specialized units deployed for security duties in the upcoming governorship election in Edo and Ondo. He stated that they have to follow strictly the dictates of the Electoral Act of Nigeria with regards to how to conduct elections. He gave the warning on Monday while meeting with Police Mobile First squadron commanders from the 97 police squadrons across the country. IGP Adamu urged them to remain non-partisan and exhibit high sense of professionalism. Take a listen to him.
I strongly want all political gladiators and the electors in Edo and Ondo states to situate all their electioneering activities within the dictates of the rule of law. They should be guided by the reality that no political ambition of any individual is more critical than our common national security interests. Hence, we assure the residents of the two states that we shall provide adequate security that will guarantee a level playing field for political actors and the electorates to exercise their branches in the most peaceful and free manner.
All right, that's one set of comments making its way into that reality. Okay, let's also venture into this. This week was International Charity Day. Oyebisi Babatunde, who is one of the leading voices when it comes to Nigerian network of NGOs, has asked the government at all levels to encourage the act of charity among Nigerians. Take a listen to what he said when he was speaking to Joy Eberibe, who is one of our correspondents here.
Non-profit organizations as part of the civil society family fought for the democracy we now enjoy. In terms of voter education, also you'll find non-profits providing services, family planning services. In some communities, non-profits are the ones also providing water, while they also provide healthcare services supporting women. Issues of gender-based violence is something we have seen growing in the last couple of months, raising awareness, helping abused victims to find shelter, small businesses, and also cash.
All right, well, that's something about that. Now, next speaker on this new week, there's so much talk going on. Groups are organizing, whether it's secret or in open. There's been talk about whether Nigerians would come out and emphasize on the need of put up their rights, the rights to associate, the rights to put forward the displeased about the price of fuel and the likes of that. Yes, that's pretty much it. But in Borno State, the police command, has warned against any protests in the state, insisting there's still a ban on public rallies. In a statement issued on Monday, the police state command public relations officer Edet Okun said the police had uncovered plot by some groups to protest against the recent hike in price of fuel and electricity tariff. Here's what becomes dramatic. So, in the United States, there was the protest about the use of face masks. There was also the protest against the life of a black person that was killed. That was a conversation that was going on. Now, it is believed that there was a spike now in the infection rates of COVID-19 in the States when people did associate or gathered to protest some of those issues that were burning in their various cities. Nigeria is planning on having those protests. Should that happen, would there be a possible chance that COVID-19 infection could spread if it exists? Remember, our testing capacity is low. It's not at its optimum. It's not at its best. So what do we do? Should people be prevented from protesting, despite the fact that the freedom and the Constitution affords them the right to associate, the right to demand for accountability, rights for a lot of things that's backed by the Constitution? Should this happen or should this not happen? These are some of the things that make up conversations that one would want to venture into at this time. I need to go for a break. After the break, I'll be back to share more with you, some stories, and of course, let you into the conversation this morning. All the stories that they happened in Nigeria this week. I'm making an attempt to cover all of them for you so that I can get the best of it right here, right now. This is The Brief with Family Life. I'll be back in a short while from now.
Real info, authentic info, Nigeria info. Thank you.
Hello there, guys, on all the various platforms. Facebook, at Family Life, I do see you. At Twitter, where else now? All the platforms that you're watching on apps as well. Hi, thank you so much. I see Euphoric Apex. I see Reddit. Yeah, I do see Reddit. Oops, okay, let me just go right around this. Who else? Grand Diagon. All of you, I do see you. Thank you so much for joining the broadcast. I'm about to go back live as I continue. By the way, it's a live stream. It's a live stream, so pretty much I get the chance to talk at the same time. Stream this. I'm going to try and get this into good position now. Can be very funny. Here we go. Did you stay? Oh yes, it stays. It stays. All right. So I do see all your messages. Some conversations, some words I can't make out here, but hey, it's good. But just to let you in on the Nigerian situation, and in 10 seconds, I'm back on it to let you in on more as it's going on in Nigeria. So stay with me. You're about to enjoy more.
Nothing breaks the news like the news. Trust me, I can prove it. You ready? Let's take on the biggest debates on radio, provide insights, experience, and build an unforgettable discussion together. I'm Femi D.
Thank you for reconnecting with me this very morning as we take on more stories for you this very day from the different perspectives, different points of views. Well, as we would have, these are stories from Nigeria that made trends during the week. I'm making an attempt to bring you all the stories. But remember, the signature of the Brief with Family Life is the fact that all these stories are verifiable stories, stories where the actors they've actually used those words to explain the many situations as they find themselves. All right, so let's move on now. The Nigerian Labour Congress this week, in its secretariat in Port Harcourt, the River State capital, as it has been reopened after 7 months of closure by the state government over what it described as structural defect. Well, the office was opened on Tuesday morning after a meeting between Labour and the state government on Monday to avert a protest by the Labour in Port Harcourt billed for the same day. The national president of the NLC, Ayuba Wahab said most important outcome of the meeting was the agreement to pay retired workers their gratuity. Let's take a listen to him and how he explains this situation and how it has been resolved with regards to this. Take a listen.
Actually the issue of gratuity, which I think in the course of the discussion, all of us agree that from 2012 to date, workers have not been paid any gratuity. And also the issue of death benefit, that when you die, your next of kin also have also been able to assess the issue of your death benefit.
On the issue of pensions, he also said he was excited about the fact that the agreement has been made, a committee set up to see how future dispute between Labour and the state government will be resolved.
So I can confirm that the two-page document, which has about 8 points, were duly agreed and signed by all the parties, including witnessed by NLC and the Trade Union Congress. And the signatories, as we said, are all the parties that are involved in the dispute. Going forward, what we did is that there should be a standing tripartite committee that is actually looking forward to ensure that all challenges of labor are also addressed.
All addressed, it says. Now, somewhere else in Nigeria, this same week, let me talk about students, workers, civil society groups in Oyo State on Tuesday. They take to the streets, in Ibadan to protest the new hiking price of fuel, armed with placards with different descriptions. The protesters marched through the streets of Ibadan to convey their grievances. The chairman of the Joint Campus Committee of the National Association of Nigerian Students, Mayowa Opakule, said students in the states totally reject the increase. He lamented that the increase is coming at a time when many people have either lost their jobs or have not been paid salaries for months. Take a listen to his explanation and why they were on the streets.
There are so many administrators that are actually looking into small scale business to actually put themselves in school. There are so many people to actually make sure that they are actually working well and not being an hoodlums on the road. So we are putting it to the federal government that we need them to look into the total reversal of this bill. They should consider us first before any actions they are making.
All right, well, that's that and that. Back to the president now. President Muhammadu Buhari has appealed to the Nigerian elites to judge his administration with fairness. The president was speaking on Tuesday at the closing of the 4th year's Ministerial Performance Review retreat held in Abuja. He said the average production of oil in the country from 1999 to 2014 was 2.1 million barrels per day and was sold at an average of price of $100. The president said he was doing his best to fight corruption by trying to follow the system, in contrast to his brief military regime in 1984, when he arbitrarily rounded up politicians, threw them in jail, and required them to prove their innocence. He said, but trying to follow the system, he is being tagged Baba Gosler. Here's how the president explains that situation for us all. Take a listen for yourself.
Encourage your friends, the elite, to reflect on what this administration has done, what APC has done, and what we have achieved. And when people outside the country talk of Nigeria, they say, yes, the most corrupt country in the world. Well, I'm doing my best. God has given me two chances. The first one, when I tried the way I thought I was a young man in uniform, collected the governors, the ministers, the president, put them in Kiriki and other places, and said they were guilty until they can prove themselves innocent. So when I come back now, I'm trying to follow the system. I'm being called Baba Goslo.
All right, well, that was Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari explaining his approach to the situation now and, how it's being tackled. The United Nations General Assembly says the UN is making efforts to ensure equal access to COVID-19 vaccines once they are available. Well, President of the UNGA, Ambassador Tijani Mohamed Badi, said this while addressing a virtual press conference on Tuesday. He said developing countries have done better than developed ones as regards the management of the pandemic. Well, Ambassador Mohamed Badi explains. Take a listen.
Nations and global reform, including Secretariat of Public Health Community around the world in terms of running community, in terms of representation. It is the same thing with General Assembly in terms of how to take issue and how to ensure coherence between its work and the work of the current Special Council, which has a good relationship with the General Assembly. So these are some of the reform efforts, but there have been revitalized what they call the ad hoc discussion on revitalization of the work of the General Assembly. There have been efforts to align processes around the work of the union. So,
now, still keeping up with other stories now, the PPRA, as we know them, they are in charge of regulating the price of petroleum products. There's Petroleum Pricing Regulatory Agency now. Victor Shidok, who is the General Manager, Admin and Human Resources, was addressing the press conference in Abuja, trying to explain how things are played out when it comes to the price of fuel.
PPMC still remain the only source for product supply, and I think other marketers, because of the challenge with forex, that is why they are not important now. And you don't forex plays, particularly with the sourcing of natural products.
Now, there was a criminal who was killed while in government custody. Well, the Benue State Governor, Samuel Otom, says information available to him indicates that Tewase Akwaza, known as Ghana, was forcefully taken away by a team of military men while he and other repentant youths were on their way to Makadi, where they were to be given amnesty by the State Security Council. Governor Otom, who stated this while addressing journalists on the incident, said he has spoken with the commander of operations, Major General Yekini, who promised to get back to him on the matter. He said the interception in Boko local government area by soldiers confirmed to be men of Operation Wellstroke led to the apprehension of Ghana, while some of their other repentant persons retreated as a result of the confusion. Here is how he explains how someone in government custody was accosted by another set of government representatives, killed, even though he was on his way to receive amnesty.
Because the security agencies are aware of what we're doing here. It's not a hidden thing. So we're really taking it back. We're trying to reach out to the commanders of the soldiers, and eventually I was able to get General Yekini, who is the commander of Operation Wellstroke, who confirmed to me that they are into an operation. And we will brief them later. And I'm waiting for that briefing. They confirmed that they are.
All right, well, so much can be said with what is going on in this case. Now, also one important case I must quickly mention is that the Commissioner for Water Resources in Kogi State, Abdulmumini Danga, has been charged to court for alleged rape. The police filed a 7-count charge against the Commissioner at the Federal High Court in Abuja. Danga is alleged to have raped and brutalized one Elizabeth Oyeni earlier this year in Lokoja, the Kogi State capital. The commissioner was further alleged to have falsified documents and threatened a medical officer to forge a test result after after allegedly raping Mrs. Oyeni. Okay, I'm trying to get the name. I'm seeing two different spellings here. All right. Well, she is to be arraigned alongside with one 35-year-old Success Omadi. Well, there's a part of the stories going on with regards to that. All right, let's move on as I start to round off now. On the stories of interest, Minister of State for Health, Olorunbe Mamounra, has advised state governments against hurriedly reopening schools. The minister stated this on Thursday at the resumed national briefing in Abuja. With regards to statistics, let me allow you to listen to how he explained what may happen if the governors reopen schools before we were all safe, if I may say.
10% of the positive cases are children and adolescents, with more than half of them in the age bracket of 10 to 18 years. It is therefore pertinent at this point to renew the warning of the Presidential Task Force on the reopening of schools so as not to expose our children to the risk of infection.
Meanwhile, the national coordinator of the PTF, Dr. Sani Aliyu, said the PTF was working with the state governments who have announced plans to reopen schools with a view of providing them with all technical assistance to ensure it does not lead to an increase in the number of COVID-19 cases.
While governments are ensuring institutions take the necessary action to safeguard health, safety, and security of students across the country, students, on the other hand, also have responsibilities. These responsibilities include the non-pharmaceutical interventions that we have mentioned over and over again.
All right, well, that was the PTF chairman there, national coordinator, speaking with regards to that situation. The National Association of Nigerian Students said it will embark on a nationwide protest, mass protest, on the 14th of September if the federal government fails to reverse the recent increment in the price of electricity and petrol.
Nigerian students have decided to call on government at the center to reverse the increases in petrol price and electricity tariff because of the prevailing economic situation. The subsidy regime is no longer visible and its complete removal is inevitable. However, the timing of the removal and its effects on is wrong. At the time when the effects of the coronavirus pandemic is biting so hard on the masses and Nigerians everywhere. This is totally unacceptable going forward. Sadly too, prices of food items, which is of course what Nigerians consume on a daily basis, consumables, transportation, and other essential services would have skyrocketed, again leaving Nigerians frustrated and bewildered.
That's the NAS president speaking about the planned protest for 14th of September, well, across the nation, they say. Now, the Independent National Electoral Commission chairman has been speaking about the forthcoming Edo governorship elections and says it will be conducted in line with safety measures to prevent the spread of COVID-19 pandemic. Even through that, he said the commission have met with officials of the Ministry of Health in the state and all the relevant stakeholders to ensure safety measures were adhered to. Take a listen to him.
It's mandatory for every voter to wear the face mask or face covering, without which the voter will not be allowed to vote. Also, voters are required to maintain physical distancing. The commission introduced 2 queues, one outside the polling area and the other inside the polling area. Within the inner queue, voters must maintain the mandatory 2-meter or 6-feet distance from each other.
And more to that, take a listen to another perspective to that same conversation.
To all parties and candidates and all those involved in the election, whether it's in Edo, Ondo, or the by-elections, to eschew violence. In the context of COVID-19, violence will not only disrupt the elections, it will also complicate the nation's response to the health emergency.
The Abia State government has warned residents to desist from eating cow lungs in order not to contact bovine tuberculosis. The State Commissioner for Agriculture, Professor Ikechi Boji, gave the warning on Thursday in Umaya. He said the warning became necessary following the discovery that some cows infected with bovine tuberculosis. And yes, Professor Mboji noted that consuming the flesh and other parts were still safe. However, stressed that the real danger was in eating the lungs. Ooh, all right, well, that's one way of saying it. The chairman of the Abuja Municipal Area Council, Abdullahi Candido, has called for aggressive campaign for tree planting to fight against environmental pollution across the 12 wards of the council. The chairman made the call on Wednesday at the 2023 tree planting campaign in Sheriti Kabusa ward in Abuja. Candido explains the importance of why trees should be planted here in Abuja. Take a listen to him.
For this year, tree planting campaign, forests and the university precious involved is a critical and we are working considering the present global environment challenges such as global warming, climate change, pollution, overuse of natural resources, and even pandemic.
All right, so there he goes. Well, also this week, President Muhammadu Buhari has inaugurated the National Steering Committee to oversee the development of Nigeria Agenda 2050 and the Medium-Term National Development Plan. While inaugurating the committee on Wednesday, President Buhari said this will succeed the Vision 2020 and the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan 2017 to 2020. So the committee will jointly be chaired by renowned economists at head of Peter side and the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed. Take a listen to how the president explains the reasons why this is very important.
National development planning is a vital task that, if carefully conceived and diligently implemented, can transform the economic fortunes of a nation. The Chinese experience is an example. It has resulted in lifting over 700 million people out of poverty. Decades. Indeed, China's track record of positive economic growth since 1992 was only halted in the first quarter of 2020 due to onset of the COVID-19 pandemic.
There was President Muhammad Buhari speaking about the 2050 plan. Reacting to that, the Minister of Finance also did give voice to what should be done next.
As the National Steering Committee for the preparation of these new plans, we must therefore strive to give hope to the great citizens of this country with the quality of plans that we come up with. Let me point that immediately after independence in 1960, Nigeria adopted the National Development Plan as a strategy to unleash infrastructure development in all parts of the country. This resulted in the development of the 4 first indigenous national development plans, which covered the periods 1962 to 1985.
All right there. Now, President Muhammad Buhari has directed the Minister of Labour and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige, to meet with the leaders of organized labor to hear the grievances of the state of the economy as it affects the generality of Nigerians. Dr. Ngige stated this on Friday while briefing the State House correspondents after a private meeting with President Muhammad Buhari. He said the meeting will afford organized labor and government have elaborate discussions on some burning issues in the country. Let's take a listen to that briefing just about now.
Mr. President, on the labor situation in the country, the justice of the streets, and some of these issues that we are handling before the streets, and to make it more for us to deal with them.
All right, that was Darton, Dr. Chris Ngige, the Minister of Labour and Employment, speaking about that situation. Okay, so we've got some few minutes to go. Let's interact. Let's take this conversation from now till about 11:15, and just listen to your thoughts about the brief. This is the big stories that have happened all week long here in Nigeria. And yes, you've been briefed. What are your thoughts about some of them? Let's hear you now. These are verifiable stories that I can substantiate. But we'll start taking those calls immediately after the break. Stay with us right here on Nigeria Info.
News. Trust me, I can prove it.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for being part of the broadcast. Gotta go now.
Thank you. Unforgettable discussion together. I'm Femi T. We talk. All I said was what he did when people.
Bye-bye.